The year is 722 BCE. The mighty Assyrian Empire, hungry for land and power, lays waste to the kingdom of Israel, scattering its people to the winds. This cataclysmic event, known as the Assyrian exile, marks the beginning of a long and painful journey for the Jewish people. Forced from their ancestral homeland, they carry with them the stories of their past, the pain of their present, and the enduring hope of return to a land promised to them by God. This concept of a promised land, a place of refuge and belonging, becomes a cornerstone of Jewish identity, fueling their spirit through centuries of exile and persecution. The Jewish diaspora, as this scattering becomes known, sees them dispersed across the globe, facing prejudice, violence, and forced conversions. Yet through it all, the dream of Zion, another name for Jerusalem and the Promised Land, remains. It is woven into their prayers, their songs, and their very being. This yearning for a return to their homeland becomes a powerful force, shaping their collective identity and their relationship with the world. The story of the Jewish people is one of resilience and faith, a testament to the enduring power of hope in the face of overwhelming adversity. Fast forward to the 20th century, a period marred by 2 world wars and the horrors of the Holocaust. The Jewish people, having endured unspeakable suffering, see their dream of a homeland take on a new urgency. The Zionist movement, advocating for the establishment of a Jewish state in Palestine, gains momentum after World War I. The British, who controlled Palestine at the time, issue the Balfour Declaration in 1917, expressing their support for a national home for the Jewish people in the region. This declaration, while welcomed by many Jews, sows the seeds of a new conflict. Palestine is not an empty land, it is home to a large Arab population, primarily Muslim, who view the increasing Jewish immigration with growing alarm. The partition plan proposed by the United Nations in 1947, dividing Palestine into 2 states, one Jewish and one Arab, is accepted by Jewish leaders but rejected by the Arab leadership. In 1948, Israel declares independence, triggering the first Arab-Israeli war and leading to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. This event, known as the Nakba, or catastrophe in Arabic, becomes a defining moment in Palestinian history, marked by loss, dispossession, and a yearning for a homeland lost. To understand the complexities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, one can draw parallels from an ancient Indian epic, the Mahabharata. This epic poem, a cornerstone of Hindu mythology, tells the story of 2 warring families, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, both descendants of King Bharata and rightful heirs to the throne of Hastinapur. The conflict arises from a power struggle for control of the kingdom, mirroring the contest for land and sovereignty in the Middle East. The Pandavas, representing righteousness and justice, are tricked out of their inheritance by the cunning Kauravas, led by the ambitious Duryodhana. This act of betrayal sets in motion a chain of events culminating in the Kurukshetra war, a devastating conflict that decimates both families and leaves a legacy of pain and division. The Mahabharata, while a tale of ancient times, offers timeless lessons about the dangers of greed, the complexities of war, and the enduring human cost of conflict. The parallels between the Mahabharata and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict are striking. Both stories involve a struggle for land and legacy, fueled by historical grievances and competing claims of ownership. The leadership on both sides, often driven by a combination of idealism, pragmatism, and at times political expediency, grapples with the weight of history and the demands of their people. Just as the Kauravas' deceit and ambition sowed the seeds of discord in Hastinapur, so too have acts of violence and mistrust poisoned relations between Israelis and Palestinians. The 1967 Six-Day War, for example, resulted in a decisive Israeli victory and the capture of significant territories, including the West Bank and Gaza Strip. While seen as a triumph by many Israelis, it deepened Palestinian resentment and further complicated the search for peace. Section 5, October 2023. When tensions ignited. The year 2023 witnessed a dangerous escalation in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In October, a series of events, beginning with a deadly attack on Israeli civilians, ignited a firestorm of violence. Hamas, the militant group controlling the Gaza Strip, claimed responsibility for the attack, which Israel condemned as an act of terrorism. The Israeli response was swift and severe, launching airstrikes on Gaza and imposing a blockade on the already impoverished territory. This latest round of violence, like those before it, claimed the lives of innocent civilians on both sides, further deepening the cycle of hatred and revenge. The international community, caught in a familiar web of condemnation and calls for restraint, struggled to find a path towards de-escalation. The events of October 2023 served as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace in the region and the urgent need for a just and lasting solution. Section 6. The human price of conflict: suffering without borders. Beyond the headlines and political rhetoric lies the human face of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. For decades, ordinary people on both sides have borne the brunt of this seemingly intractable conflict. Palestinian families in Gaza endure crippling poverty, limited access to basic necessities, and the constant fear of violence. Israeli communities, particularly those near the Gaza border, live with the trauma of rocket attacks and the ever-present threat of terrorism. The conflict's toll on children is particularly heartbreaking. Palestinian children in Gaza grow up amidst rubble and deprivation, their education disrupted, their futures uncertain. Israeli children living under the shadow of conflict carry the weight of fear and the burden of military service. The psychological scars of war, the loss of innocence, and the erosion of hope are just a few of the invisible wounds inflicted by this enduring conflict. Section 7. The World Watches: A History of Interventions and Inaction. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been a persistent challenge for the international community. The United States, a staunch ally of Israel, has played a significant role in mediating peace talks, albeit with limited success. The United Nations, through numerous resolutions and peacekeeping efforts, has attempted to address the humanitarian crisis and find a political solution, but its efforts have often been met with resistance and deadlock. Neighboring Arab countries, while condemning Israeli policies toward the Palestinians, have also struggled to present a united front or exert significant pressure on either side. The complexities of the conflict, coupled with geopolitical considerations and the lack of a sustained international consensus, have hampered efforts to achieve a just and lasting peace. The international community's response, often characterized by a mix of good intentions and political maneuvering, has failed to break the cycle of violence and suffering. Section 8. Power, politics, and the people caught in between. At the heart of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict lies a complex interplay of power, politics, and deeply held beliefs. For Israelis, the establishment and security of their state are paramount, born out of the ashes of the Holocaust and the desire for a safe haven. For Palestinians, the struggle is for self-determination, an end to occupation, and the right of return to their lost homes and lands. The two-state solution, once seen as the most viable path to peace, has become increasingly elusive amidst the expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank and the entrenched divisions within both societies. The growth of religious nationalism on both sides, often fueling extremism and intolerance, further complicates the search for common ground. Section 9. A new generation rises. Voices from the conflict zone. Amidst the despair and seemingly intractable nature of the conflict, a new generation is emerging on both sides. Young Israelis and Palestinians who have known nothing but conflict in their lifetimes are increasingly raising their voices, demanding a different future. They are utilizing social media, art, and activism to challenge the status quo, build bridges of understanding, and advocate for peaceful coexistence. These young peace builders, while acknowledging the painful past, are choosing hope over hatred, dialogue over violence. They are forming cross-cultural initiatives, sharing their stories and challenging the narratives of fear and division that have fueled the conflict for generations. Their efforts, while facing significant obstacles, offer a glimmer of hope that a different future is possible. Section 10. The struggle continues. Can peace ever bloom from ashes? The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, with its long and tortured history, remains one of the world's most intractable conflicts. The path to peace is fraught with obstacles, from deep-seated mistrust and historical grievances to political complexities and the influence of extremist elements on both sides. The human cost of this conflict continues to mount, with each generation inheriting the wounds of the past. Yet, even in the darkest of times, the human spirit yearns for peace. The stories of resilience, the acts of compassion, and the unwavering belief in a better future all offer a glimmer of hope. The journey towards peace will be long and arduous, requiring courage, compromise, and a fundamental shift in mindsets. Whether peace can truly bloom from the ashes of this enduring conflict remains to be seen, but the pursuit of a just and lasting solution must continue, for the sake of both Israelis and Palestinians and for the future of the region.